The Relic update for No Man's Sky is here and it's way bigger than it looks. We aren't just getting some new fossils, so let's get into the details of No Man's Sky patch 5.6, the Relic update. Starting off with what is the focus of this update, yet not at all the only thing here, we have the new fossils. There are multiple ways to get them, and they aren't just trade items. Obtain them through dig sites like you used to get ancient bones, except now they are distinct body parts and there are quite a lot of them. The point here is that you can display and trade these fossils. Displaying them can be done by constructing full displays, where you choose what head goes with what spine, etc. to create what you want with millions of different combinations, or even place a part singularly. There's even a nod to glitch building in the patch notes, which insinuates that part of the reasoning for singular placement is to allow for outlandish and biology-defying creations, which is pretty damn cool. Another nice touch is that once we've made a display using the actual display items, we can package them and trade them with other players instead of just giving individual parts. Another way to obtain these fossils is through bartering with the fossil collectors found on space stations. These fossil collectors will have a specific part available. Certainly the parts will be procedural, so you can just hop between stations looking for the part you like. You can then trade for that part with other fossils you have that you aren't too interested with at the time. New dig site points of interest have also been added to planets. These are quite different from what we knew of before. These aren't just some buried bones you can scan for, but a camp with fossils being unearthed and NPC collectors present. Fossil beds, which we would formerly have described as dig sites, are now protected by ancient systems. A vigilant stone eye can be found keeping watch, and disturbing it may bring ancient stone golems to attack you. These are basically remodeled mechs, and they look pretty badass. There are two types, a more mech-like version made of living stone, and a more elemental-esque version that appears to be held together through advanced forces, far more reminiscent of magical stone elementals. The Vigilant Eye itself is also a very valuable item, that while risky to obtain is likely worth it. As well as the Golems or Stone Guardians, huge versions that lie dormant have been added to Relic worlds as picturesque titans, left in time. On top of all that, a new fauna type has been added, which as you may have guessed are skeletal fauna. These are apparently extremely rare, so I'll see if I can find a location to share with you guys in the coming days. Along with that, a new rare version of Titan worms has been added, which is of course skeletal. The first time seeing one of those will likely be memorable. As you can expect, a new expedition has arrived with the update. Unlike the Titan expedition, this one will also run for 6 weeks. The Relic Expedition actually has some really sweet rewards, like a fossil staff weapon called the Basilisk Crown Staff, the usual posters, decals on the title, but the really cool reward, which I'd recommend you all do this for, is the new armor customization. A full set of living stone armor is rewarded, including a living stone backpack customization. While in No Man's Sky armor is purely aesthetic when it comes to these customizations, if anything I like it that way. You don't have to decide between stats and aesthetics. You can of course also expect tips and step-by-step guides for this coming expedition. While all of that is a primary focus of the Relic update for No Man's Sky, there are more than 100 more notes in this update, many of which are seriously awesome. Starting with quality of life, you can now mark planets in the current system on the discovery page. I expect this came about due to the previous expedition where a milestone required you to visit every moon of a gas giant. Many players struggled to efficiently visit them due to a mixture of not all the moons being visible from any one point around the gas giant, and how planetary bodies can't be scanned easily if a planet is in the way, and even when you can see it clearly. Another nice touch is that planets with no atmosphere have had their audio atmospheric effects removed, which of course makes sense as in a vacuum there's nothing to conduct the vibrations. Gone are the days of entering pulse toward the icon next to the one you tried to pulse to. Hopefully anyway. They've reduced how aggressive this has been in the past, and it's hopefully a lot less frustrating. The teleport receiver technology has finally been added to living ships with an organic version. In the interest of keeping this video to a reasonable length, here are a further 12 quality of life improvements that I deemed a little less noteworthy, for those who want to pause the screen and give them a quick look. Significant improvements have been made to the save system, with far greater compression on the files. This is aimed at helping with the cross-save system by massively reducing the upload and download times and bandwidth. Also, for those already enjoying the cross-save beta, timeouts for uploading your saves will now be alerted, and timeframes for uploading will now be shown to give you a better sense of security with what's going on. Some cross-save specific settings have also been added to the primary options menu in the base menu screen. Cooking has had a few improvements with new fossil related recipes. If there's not a bone broth, I'm going to be disappointed. I'm also hoping for gelatin based products and thickening agents, for no good reason. I just love food and cooking. Base storage containers are now accessible while cooking, which is helpful. You can now correctly access the nutrient processor's internal storage when on a freighter or exoskiff. The exoskiff's grill now works correctly, and Kronos' grill can now be used by more than one person at once. Also, jelly deals, which were formerly impossible to craft due to a bug, can now correctly be crafted for all those completionists. Abandon mode has had some improvements, though honestly I'd say it is now correctly working and properly released. Primarily due to how much content was blocked in it before. For instance, purple systems are now visible from the beginning in abandon mode, a great touch that goes in line with the game mode. Multi-tool ships and exosuits can now be upgraded like in normal mode, with the addition of the required terminals now available on derelict space stations. These abandoned space stations also now have salvage boxes in them that can be looted for valuable upgrades and slot augments. Multi-tools in abandoned mode are now always free, but will be found with damaged slots. Settlement missions will no longer start in abandoned mode. Crashed freighter containers and buried caches have had their loot pools increased with more valuable items and technology, specifically for abandoned mode. All of these changes really bring abandoned mode into its own as a legitimate game mode, instead of just having a heavy restriction, which I'm really a fan of. We have 7 notes toward optimizations, which while I think are cool, I'm not sure you guys want me to just read them out. So pause if you're curious, and if not, then just know that some improvements have been made. A large number of bugs have been addressed. The first of note is related to something Nanoplasm brought up on my stream the other day. Turns out it was in fact a bug. Essentially, some planets with super shallow water would have large underwater fauna, often solitary predatory fauna like sharks and such, that could not spawn due to the water pools never being deep enough. This was a big old bug and it's been squashed. A bug that caused some bases built above the surface of the water on aquatic planets to become visible has been fixed. A pretty bad bug that affected Switch players has been fixed, where save games could reach a maximum size and so just stop saving at all. It seems it was rare, but pretty bad for those affected. Good this has been sorted. This next one is interesting and I'm quite hopeful for it. Fixed a number of issues affecting markers and planet labels when entering atmosphere. I'm hoping this has made it so you once again don't have to travel an excessive distance from a planet to be able to scan another planet, which would also lessen the issues with planets being a bit in the way, especially when trying to scan around gas giants. On top of all that, there are further 29 bug fixes in this update. I'll be slideshowing them now, so those who wish can pause and peruse. And that is your lot. A pretty big update considering it's only 2 months after Worlds 2 released. It's called Relics, but there's a bunch more in there after the focus. Be sure you are subscribed and ready if you want more guides and coverage, as well as the Relic Expedition guides that I'll be working on immediately after this video goes live. Thanks all, peace.